Hey, how are you doing?
Very good. Nice to meet you. My name is Macon.
Likewise, Joey. Well, no, I'm not making. I'm Joey, but I've seen you in things before.
Nice to meet you, Joey.
I'm thrilled not only to talk about this. I'm thrilled that it's coming out because
Man, me too.
it's been a minute. Let's say
It sure has.
that's sort of what I was thinking about in the waiting room. Like, how does it feel? Obviously, you want to make it, you get to make it. Like that's its own thing, right? Getting to have it be in the can, for lack of a better word, but
Yeah,
between, you're working on other things, you're doing other things, but it's still sort of, I don't know, you get to come back to it now in a way, and other people are chiming in, and it's a whole other experience. And what's the finish line feel like?
it's kind of surreal because on one hand, it feels like it was forever ago. It was kind of like even just in terms of the world, it was sort of like we were still at the beginning of COVID when we shot this, and just things feel different. Um, and there was this long period where it was kind of like just sort of in distribution limbo, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And in a lot of ways, I did kind of just move on and started working on other stuff. I mean, it's entirely out of my hands. I'm not really involved in once the movie is done and turned in. They would certainly keep me in the loop and keep me up to date on latest information, but I wasn't part of the process of trying to get it out in the world. And so I kind of just let it go and moved on. So when it did come back around and landed at Cineverse, um, it was a great sort of surprising victory. And with the benefit of hindsight, a real silver lining because Cineverse is so fucking energetic and just fired up for it. And they're putting it in theaters, they're doing all this stuff to really like get it out in the world. And there's a part of me that wonders if it had come out like right immediately. It may well have, if Cineverse was not in the place to get it at that time, like maybe Terrifier hadn't blown up as much or whatever. I don't know, but it may well have just sort of vanished into a streaming service and sort of not had this big boost that they're giving it. So if waiting a couple years to get that was part of the price, then um I'm all for it.
And I think having it in theaters, one, it's the type of movie that is fun to watch with other people.
It's
Spoke
going to play better with a crowd of people, ideally a theater that serves beer. But I think it'll be fun at home too. But I think like getting a group of friends together and going out to see it is going to be the best version of it. So I'm delighted that that's how it's ended up.
And you've had that other experience, and that's not to say that like you weren't proud of your movie. It's not to say it wasn't a good home for it, but like I feel like it must be more satisfying, even if it plays in a couple of theaters and X number of people see it. You know that X number of people went and bought a ticket, sat down, like involve this movie as part of their day, right? Whereas streaming, you hear like it did okay, it did fine, it did great. It's just words, right? You'll never find out exactly
You
how
never
something.
know. Yeah, exactly. And you never know how the people were like, and it's all sort of open to interpretation, but you never know like were they folding laundry or like did they pause it four times or whatever. But I honestly like we had a tremendous screening at Fantastic Fest, and that was sort of like the premiere. And shortly after that, we had this great follow-up screening at Beyond Fest in Los Angeles. And it was, to my way of thinking, like if you get one really dynamite screening, then like what else are you gonna ask for? And I got two, and so I was kind of like, look, fuck it. If that's it, then like there was two really great screenings. People seemed to enjoy it, and if that was all it was, okay. So the fact that it sort of gets to return to theaters feels like a real victory.
Oh, yeah, when you see that people are engaging and like got it, right? Because when you're making it, you kind of have an idea of whether something's working or not, but you never know. Plenty of movies that are amazing, and when it went to edit, people are like, "We made a piece of shit. We're in trouble. We're all getting fired." And the opposite's true. So, like, I think when a paying crowd or just a crowd, a festival crowd, is laughing in the right spots, they're reacting to a kill, they're giggling at the gore, all the things that like your heart of hearts, you're like, if this happens, I know I did it. it does feel like such a great reward to be like, oh, I made the movie not only that I wanted to make, but a movie that people want to see. Like that's really hard.
Well, that's the second part is what I don't know. I did make the movie that I wanted to see. I know that. And like I kind of felt like I mean, the line that we kept using was like, this movie is not for everybody, but the people it is for, it's very much for them. And that's kind of like, I kind of felt like there would be a section of the audience, and hopefully it would be like trauma fans and an overlap into a mainstream audience that would get it. But it's a very particular tone. It's a very particular sense of humor. It's like kind of juvenile and kind of weird and like a couple of different things kind of simultaneously, and like you don't know if that's gonna work for everybody, and so to have it sort of come out and land with people, at least at those festivals, those audiences I think are predisposed to like this type of movie or like the vibe of this movie. So we got very lucky with that, and hopefully it'll spread a little bit wider when it comes out into theaters.
Totally. And I think
August.
even kind of inadvertently, I think some of the choices you made actually work towards that. Like, obviously, casting, there's a lot of people in this who are likable and are, you know, oh, I've seen them in that. I want to see a movie. And I think Peter, especially, I love the fact that even when he's Toxie, he still just sounds like Peter Dinklage. I think like it's such a subtle thing that I think will keep like someone who might be on the fence engaged. Like the when he goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry," and then shit starts to go down. Like just having that as opposed to, ugh, because I feel like 9 out of 10 other versions of this, he's the guy in RoboCop who becomes a mutant in that scene, and that.
Totally.
But there's something about like the 1 of 10 makes this unique.
That was a thing very, very early on, like before we even knew what the story was, before like anything, but just sort of like very preliminary, even before I had the job, honestly, when it was just sort of broad, creative conversations with the producers where they were basically saying like, what's your take on it? Like, how would you approach it? And that was one of the main things was whether it's through voice or how the makeup is designed or whatever, but having it feel like the Toxie when he is the mutant is the same person as when he's the human, and sort of making that feel those two characters feel consistent, however that works. And so that was something even before we knew what sort of he was going to get into that we wanted to do. So I'm glad to hear that you felt that way.
I think that's what you want out of this type of character, whether it's Toxie, Swamp Thing. You want the humanity is what's baked into the cake, right? I think most productions struggle with that because, oh, people won't buy it if he just sounds like, I think because it's this level of production and you kind of have the permission to be a little weird. If it doesn't work, it's just a weird choice. But if it works, all of a sudden, this admittedly silly movie, you're like, wait, I still care about this guy.
That was the hope, was that like it would be, I mean, the other thing we talked about a lot was sort of treating it like a live action cartoon, like a Tom and Jerry cartoon, something, but um not without sort of feeling disengaged, like your heart is disengaged, and sort of wanting you to feel some sort of like emotional connection. I mean, it's not Sophie's Choice, of course, but I mean, like you want it to feel like you have some empathy and some connection to these characters, and there's some sort of emotional component within all of the sloppy slime and
Right.
like bad guys getting chopped up and shit like that.
Well, that's what you want out of any, I think, good movie. It's incredibly hard to engage with something that gives you no one to root for and just here's a bunch of bad people.
Yeah.
It can work. It's a hard thing to do, but I think most times you'll get more audience members to go with you wherever you're going if they're like, well, I want to see what this person does next. I want to see what this character does because I'm invested in their well-being, their success, their happiness. And I think there's just the right amount of humanity early on when because admittedly everyone's definitely going, well, when's he turning into I know the title of the movie. I know what's coming. So
Yeah.
you thread it very well without like making them wait too long. I think it's very well paced for, was an hour 45 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That was the thing that like um it was a good lesson for me because the early cuts that I turned in were much longer, and it took longer for him to get to Toxie and whatever. And we did test screenings, and that was something that the audiences, not that they specifically said this, but just sort of like when you read between the lines of their feedback, um, it was uh, it was kind of apparent that I had miscalculated a little bit and needed to pace it up. I had this idea that we could sort of linger in his personal life a little bit longer and have it be like this, more of a character study type thing. And I was like, nah, man, it's called the fucking Toxic Avenger. You better get to the Toxic Avenger as quick as you can. So that was an adjustment that we made, and when we made those adjustments, then it I think people responded favorably, so that was a good thing for me to have.
Oh,
It was
totally. Because it's a positive critique as opposed to here's why this fucking sucks. You're like, oh, I can't do anything with that. But oh, it's clear that they're waiting for something they want to see. Oh, okay. And I think because of what his issues are in the first act, a little bit does go a long way, not in a way that like what you were doing was bad. Trust me, I'd want to see it. But like, I think it's such a relatable thing that very quickly everyone's like, I completely understand the stakes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's cool, I think, to have, like this is my vision for the movie and this is how I think it works. But it's also good to sort of let your defenses down a little bit and Um, I was very lucky on this movie to have really great collaborators sort of in front of the camera, but also editorially and on the production side from the studio side. And everybody was sort of like trying to gauge it to be the best version of itself. And, perhaps that's not always the case. So I feel like I got very lucky with the people that I got to sort of be teaming up with on
Right.
this one.
Getting a good note is rare because like that's fine. Like tell me how to make the best Macon Blair movie. Like I'm always interested in that. But if they're telling you how to make the best Scorsese movie, you're like, well, I think you've miscalculated on what is happening
Going
here.
to the wrong shop for that one. So yeah.
As we wrap up, I just first of all, I can't wait to see what you do next because I don't feel at home in this world. So
Thank
they
you.
feel very much of the same filmmaker. So um
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I sort of like I, that that's cool to hear you say that. I was really kind of thinking like, the first one had its own more sort of like it takes place in the real world tone, and this one is much more in the sort of like cartoon world tone. But I'm pleased to see that you felt there was some consistency. I'm working on a new one now that I think would probably be closer, excuse me, in terms of vibe to Don't Feel at Home, but we'll see how it turns out.
Oh, count me in. But you should feel very proud about this, and I'm excited people are going to see it, and I'm excited that people are going to discover the old one, and it's a fun thing to have in the world. So you should be so proud of this.
I thank you. That's kind words, and I'm really pleased that it's going to come out right at a time when like the 4Ks of the original just became available, so that like if they do discover the old ones, that there's this awesome format to watch them on, and I feel like the timing worked out ultimately. So, but that's very kind of you to say. Thank you, Joey.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this, man.